Hello, my name is Mari, and in this video I'm going to speak about Youthpass and key competencies that are being developed while getting non-formal education. Youthpass is a tool that recognizes learning outcomes from youth work and solidarity activities. It's available for projects that are funded by Erasmus+, such as Youth in Action and European Solidarity Corps programs. Since I'm currently volunteer of European Solidarity Corps project in Lithuania, I'm also a part of this experience that I want to share in this video. First of all, I need to highlight the fact that it's a part of the European Commission strategy to foster the recognition of non-formal learning, putting policy into practice and putting practice into policy. While creating their Youthpass certificate together with the support person, project participants are given the possibility to describe what they have done in their project and which competencies they have acquired. Thus, Youthpass supports the reflection upon the personal non-formal learning process and outcomes. Youthpass also supports active European citizenship of young people and of youth workers by describing the added value of their projects. As a Europe-wide recognition instrument for non-formal learning in the youth field, Youthpass strengthens the social recognition of youth work. Youthpass also aims at supporting the employability of young people and of youth workers by raising the awareness of and helping to describe their competencies, and by documenting their acquisition of key competencies on a certificate. To sum up what is Youthpass, we can say that it's a tool which puts the key competencies for lifelong learning into practice, and these competencies are prescribed on the certificate that are issued for those participants of Youth in Action program activities, such as participating in exchanges, voluntary service or training course. And here is the question: who can use Youthpass? Youthpass certificates are available for all types of projects and activities within the Erasmus+, such as Youth in Action and European Solidarity Corps programs. Also, the certificates can be issued for projects that were granted under the previous Youth in Action program, such as from 2007 till 2013, and also all participants of the projects approved within these frameworks are entitled to receive a Youthpass certificate and thus recognition for their non-formal learning outcomes. And the whole responsibility to issue the Youthpass certificates to the participants or volunteers, in case they wish to receive them, lies too with the organization that signs the contract for the Erasmus Plus grants. Here we already know that Youthpass is a recognition tool implemented within the Erasmus Plus, and hence we need to know who can be those stakeholders in Youthpass, or just potentially interested people or organizations. So here we see that they can be as individual participants or educational institutions or potential employers, also European Commission, national governments, local authorities, national agencies of Youth in Action, also youth workers, leaders and trainers, and organizations that are involved in youth services. Before starting talking about those key competencies in details, we need to know what is a competence and how it can be resulted in. In accordance with international studies, competence is defined here as a combination of knowledge, skills and attitudes appropriate to a particular situation. Key competencies are those that support our personal fulfillment, social inclusion, active citizenship and employment. All of us need to have a good understanding of the key competence and how they relate to youth work practice. Participants, youth workers and leaders, administrators in national agencies, mentors of volunteers and trainers as well. Let's discuss these 8 key competencies that you can improve during your projects, and that will be also shown in your Youthpass certificate. Here are 8 key competencies, and the first is multilingual competence, personal, social, and learning to learn competence. Competence is cultural awareness and expression, also digital literacy, citizenship, entrepreneurship, and mathematical competence, and competence in science, technology, and engineering. Here you can see what kind of competencies you can improve during your project or learning courses that will help you to point out your learning outcomes of non-formal education. For example, multilingual competence, that's the ability to use different languages for communication and to understand and express thoughts, feelings, and facts orally or in writing. And it's also ability to learn a language in various ways, and also appreciate cultural diversity and attitudes connected to this competence. The main question should be like this. For example, how did you communicate before and after the project with the people from other countries, and what did you learn from that? So if you see that you can answer to this question, it means that you earned this competence. That means multilingual competence. As for the competence in cultural and awareness and expression, the main question goes, for example, how did you learn new ideas or methodologies for working with art and culture? So what does this competence means? It's a cultural awareness and expression, that's understanding of how ideas are creatively expressed in different cultures through different arts. It also involves developing and expressing own ideas, openness, and curiosity. Here we have very important and necessary competence that will help us to grow personally and to focus on our self-development. This competence is personal, social, and learning to learn competence. It means that this is the competence and ability to learn or to manage one's own learning and to reflect on oneself. It's about time and information management, and this competence answers the question, for example, how did you plan your learning objectives, and how did you learn things that you did not plan or expect to learn, or what did you discover about yourself, and in what ways do you think your participation in the project has changed you? So it means that reflecting on yourself is the learning process. So as for another competence, it's entrepreneurship competence that refers to the capacity to act upon opportunities and to turn ideas into action that has value for others. It also includes taking initiative, creativity, innovation, critical thinking, and problem solving. That requires the ability to work collaboratively and to plan projects of cultural, social, or financial value. And this competence answers the question, which interests, passions, and talents did you develop during the project, and how and from which situations did you learn about taking initiative, and what stimulates you to take action, how do you make ideas become a reality, and so on. And here is another competence that's called as Citizenship Competence. It means that you have the ability to act as a responsible citizen and to fully participate in civic and social life based on understanding of social, economic, legal, and political concepts, as well as global developments and sustainability. The main question goes to two main questions. For example, what did you learn about the living conditions of the people from other countries, and how can you contribute to the social or environmental initiatives around you? And another competence is mathematical competence and competence in science, technology, and engineering. It means that after this, I have ability to use mathematical thinking to solve problems in everyday situations, and also I can use logical and critical thinking to handle technological tools and to communicate conclusions and reasoning behind them. There are main questions, for example, how much were you involved in developing your own project and what have you learned in terms of project management, or how did you approach problems, or how did you cope with new and unexpected situations in your project. And here are 2 last competencies out of 8, and these are digital and literacy competence. So what is digital competence? It's the responsible use of digital technologies, of course, so communication and collaboration, media literacy, digital content creation, safety, intellectual property related questions, problem solving, and critical thinking. It also refers to curiosity and open-minded attitude. And what is the main question here? The main question is, what kinds of different technologies did you use to prepare for and to realize your project? And the last competence is literacy competence. This is the ability to understand and express thoughts, feelings, and facts orally, in writing, or in other forms, and to interact with others. And here, the openness to critical and constructive dialogue and the awareness on the impact of language on others. And here is the main question. For example, what kind of opportunities do you have to express yourself in writing, and how do you feel about this? And also, how did communicating in a foreign language influence your communication in your mother tongue? And did that change the way you look at your own language or no? I hope that by the ending of this video you found out Youthpass as the most important and useful tool for your learning process of non-formal education, and these 8 key competencies that you can develop through your project or your courses. But there is also the chance that out of these 8 competencies you earned 9. That's absolutely different, and we can describe it as other specific skill or task-specific competencies. So, after realizing these competencies in your learning process, I'm sure that you will see the advantage of holding your Youthpass certificate that will add value to your employability process. So, enjoy and reflect on your Youthpass experience.